Hello my friends. Well, I couldn't find a gateway today, so you're going to have to put up with this. We're on Dartmoor. Isn't that beautiful? And we're with Ernie today, the Royal Enfield Classic 500, which could quite possibly be my favourite bike. Now, I've owned several bikes over the years, but none quite like this one. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And in case you find it boring, we should have a good view to admire along the way. Let's get on the road. So I'm going to tell you about my history of motorcycles. I'm going to take a route that I've never been on before. We're coming towards Morton Hampstead, but I'm going to be taking a road off to the right that should bring us out to Widecombe In The Moor. Okay, I better start right at the beginning. When I was a nipper, on Saturdays and Sundays, I was Barry Sheen, and I used to go out on my bicycle and see just how far I could lean that thing. The end result was quite often some scuffed knees and elbows, but also quite good handling of a bicycle. Now, although I was always amazed by motorbikes, and I used to love seeing and hearing them, let me get past this bugger. I never actually imagined myself actually riding a real one. But when I was 11 or 12 on a friend's farm, one day he said, "Do you fancy having a go on a motorbike?" And I thought, well, I can't even ride a motorbike, but if he can do it, so can I. So, brimming with confidence, I proceeded to crash into the farmhouse on a Yamaha Fizzy. Well, eventually I got the hang of it, and we had a blast riding around that farm on the Fizzy. Eventually all the bits and pieces got broken off, and we went up to a Honda XL100 and had more fun on that bike. So I was hooked on motorbikes, although I never went for a 50 when I was 16, and when I was 17 I wanted a car so I could take my girlfriend out. But when I was about 19, I was a bit jealous of my friends having fun on their little 125s, so I picked up a DT 125 ypvs, and that was a mad little thing. I had a lot of fun on that. Of course, always rode it sensibly, never popped wheelies, we never went out racing. But eventually I decided to go back to a car. Well, then they announced the changes of the motorcycle test. So I thought, well, before that comes in, I'll do my bike test just in case I ever decide to go back to one. So I did that. It comprised of a CBT and a single test, which enabled me to ride any bike. Well, it just so happened around the time of me passing my test, a workmate of mine was selling an MTX 200R, and I thought, you know what, that looks like fun. So I bought the MTX, and I did have fun on it. To be fair, it wasn't a lot more than the 125, so I thought I want something with a bit more get up and go, and I bought myself an RD 350 ypvs, and that was mad. Anyone that's owned one will know what I mean. The straight line speed wouldn't be embarrassed by any modern sports bikes. The handling, however, left something to be desired. It was like straddling a 5-bar gate or a mattress up on its end. The handling was diabolical. So I decided to change that bike for something with a bit better handling, and I ended up with a GPZ550. Great little bike, not particularly quick, but it was smooth, it handled well, and it was dead reliable. I actually stripped that bike to a bare frame, had the frame powder coated. I painted the tank and the panels myself, put it back together, and then decided I wanted something a bit more powerful. And that's when I moved on to another Kawasaki, another GPZ, but this time the 900R. Yes, I was Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Now, I had that bike for quite a few years. Soon got used to the power. I mean, when they were first produced, the GPZ900 was the quickest production bike, capable of 155. But it felt slow, so I thought I need something bigger, better, faster, more. And this was about the year 2000, and I bought myself a low mileage 1997 Suzuki TL1000S, and that was a beast. I think it was 95 foot-pounds of torque, compared to, at the time, Ducati's 916, I believe, was about 75 foot-pounds of torque. That bike taught me how to ride. There's no ABS, no traction control, literally no aids whatsoever. And it had a bit of a reputation for poor handling due to its inferior rear shock, poor mapping, and I believe they were recalled for the fitting of a steering damper, which mine never had. But I kept that bike for about 8 years. And I survived. Look, I'm still here. Yes. I did have, however, many close calls on that bike. And after the last one, I thought to myself, One day my son isn't going to have a dad anymore, so I rolled that bike into the garage for one last time and I hung up my riding jacket. But my love of motorcycles never died. Every time I heard one or saw one, it would stir up the memories and I'd yearn for another. So 9 or 10 years down the line, I thought, right, my son's all grown up and I too have grown up myself, and now I believe I trust myself to behave on another motorcycle. So after a good look around, I decided the Z900rs was for me, and that's when Nikita came on the scene. A bike I still own now. Gorgeous looking bike, bags of power, silky smooth, sweet handling. Yeah, happy Saddlebags. And then I thought, well, I'd fancy something a bit different, and I considered a Royal Enfield Interceptor. It's a bit much for a second bike. So I test rode a Royal Enfield Classic 500, one that was several years old. It rattled out all my fillings and I just fell in love with its character and charm. So I put a deposit on Ernie here in chrome and graphite. So there's another couple of bikes on the scene. I sold my car and I bought a Kawasaki ER-5, which was a very reliable bike. No bells or whistles, just did the job, got me to work. I could do my shopping and all my winter riding on that bike. But to broaden my horizons, I decided to go for the Witch, the Royal Enfield Himalayan, which is a good bike. It's what would I say, a jack of all trades, nothing particularly special. But it means I can go and have a play in some green lanes, do my shopping, etc, etc. Now I've ridden other bikes, friends' bikes. I've ridden, what have I had, an R1. I've ridden my friend's Triumph Chopper, as I call it. Uncle Jesse's Pan-European. And now I can find something good to say about all these bikes, but none of them match the Classic 500. If I'm just going out to ride for pleasure, Ernie here is the first one I go to. I've covered 3,145 miles on this bike so far. and they are quite honestly the best miles I've covered on any bike. Now, I don't really know how to put it into words, but this bike warms my cockles. Like I say, so much character, so much charm, and I've never felt quite so at one with a bike before. I could never let this one go. This is Widecombe In The Moor, gorgeous little place. So although this is perhaps one of the slowest bikes I've ever owned, it still has to be the best bike I've ever owned. And I have to keep reminding myself that it's a budget bike. It was about £5 on the road with the chrome paintwork, but I absolutely love it. Now, a question I'm often asked about the Classic 500 is how I find the vibrations of the big single. Well, it doesn't vibrate. What you're feeling there is the bike's pulse, and I actually love it, and I wish there was more of it. Well, that's Hay Tor over there. Now, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care. Ciao for now. Bye bye.